For the first time this year, riders had a weekend off of the Lucas Oil Pro Motocross Championship, and they used that time to prep for Round 5, the Red Bull National at Budds Creek. And we did see that the extra time for prep paid off, specifically for two old favorites who came into the race carrying #1 plates and came out of it carrying significant momentum that they really needed in this series. We've got all the highlights on Budds Creek coming your way. It's the Racer X Motocross Show, presented by Motorsport.com. Let's get to the action here. 450 Moto 1. Nice day here in Maryland. Temperatures in the 80s. Ryan Dungey heading down to the starting line, last year's winner here. Mike Brown joining the series for the first time this year. He is, by the way, now your points leader in Endurocross, which still sounds funny to say. Here's the start of Moto 1. This does not sound strange. Mike Alessi on the Moto Concept Smart Top machine taking the whole shot. It was his first of the year. Dungey was there, but it would be short-lived. This is the second turn of the race, and Ryan Villopoto goes by both to take the lead. But you might want to save yourself from doing the yawn motion, because you would think with Villopoto in the lead it was going to be a cakewalk, but it would actually be a lot more competitive than that. Dungey would soon get to the #2 position and then do his best to keep the Monster Energy Kawasaki rider honest. All right, I know what you're saying. Villopoto's already opened up a nice lead in the Dunge, but Dungey would close the gap later. Let's go a little bit further back. You got Mike Alessi and Ryan Sipes in a good battle for 3rd and 4th. Best start of the year for Sipes, and Justin Brayton was having his best run of the year. Other riders in the mix: Tyler Rattray, Jake Weimer, Andrew Short, and Chad Reed. Now let's go to the 51 of Justin Barcia. Not a good start for him, but he would blow by most of those riders and then get to Sipes. Eventually he'd take over that position. Look at Sipes on the inside. Did you see how rough that was on that uphill? It's going to open the door for Barcia to take the position away. That'll put him up into 4th. Trey Kennard, want to give him a shout out. He was behind Sipes in 6th. And here's Dungey. I told you this one wouldn't be as easy for Villopoto as you'd think. Look at how close he got around the halfway mark. And they got in the lap traffic. First it slowed up Villopoto. It slowed up Dungey actually a little bit worse. And Villopoto was able to slip away a bit. Let's go a little bit further back. James Stewart was your fastest qualifier for the day, Oakley Bomb Award. But as he was coming through traffic in this one, he would land in a giant puddle of mud in the bottom of a hill and go down. Then, a big surprise, Dungey in the #2 spot goes down and is slow to get up. He's lucky to be able to recover and finish 2nd in this one. And because of that crash, Villopoto was able to open up a huge lead. By the way, look at that, wheeling up this hill just to pass a lapped rider. This dude does not mess around, and that's why Ryan Villopoto has won all but one moto so far this year. It was strange to see Dungey on the ground at one point in this moto. He said he knocked the wind out of himself. Good recovery here, salvage points. Let's go to 450 Moto 2. Very similar start here in this one to the first moto. MotorcycleSuperstore.com whole shot once again goes to Alessi. Dungey is once again right behind him and takes the lead. The only difference, Villopoto was not right behind him off the start. In fact, he's about 8th. You see him on the right side of the screen. So he has some work to do. He's battling with the Stewart brothers outside the top 5. Dungey goes to work, starts getting away from Alessi, Andrew Short. And this is some traffic back here. You got big hitters in the mix. Weimer, Chad Reed, Kennard. There's Villopoto. He gets around Malcolm Stewart. He's battling with James Stewart. All the while, Dungey starting to slip away from Alessi. Short running strong in 3rd. Brayton with another good start. Now Villopoto has passed James Stewart also and is going after Brayton. Gives you an idea of the gap that Dungey had opened up early. He was just on rails in this one. Dungey said they stiffened the forks between the motos to deal with those steep, choppy downhills, and it made all the difference. Pulling away from this pack is Villopoto, still trying to get Brayton. It took him a while to make passes. Villopoto said he just wasn't comfortable on the up and down hills like he has been at years past. This is a track he's done very well on in the past. Finally, he would move up to 4th and then challenge Short for the #3 position. He'd make the pass on Short and was behind his old rival Alessi, and then would make a sweet pass here. He was committed. He goes from the outside to the inside and makes the move on the #800. That puts Villopoto into 2nd, and everyone was anticipating an all-out blitz from your series points leader. And blitz he did. He ran hard. He did everything he could to try to run Dungey down, but he was about 15 seconds back, and actually Dungey was able to continue to extend that lead as the moto went on. But still, watch Villopoto. He is a bad dude on these uphills. But try as hard as he couldn't put a dent in Dungey's lead. Dungey is going to go 2-1 to win this one. So let's focus behind them. James Stewart now up to 3rd, and his brother, Malcolm Stewart, closing the gap from 4th place. Best 450 ride ever for Malcolm. Alessi had already crashed out. That's where they're 3rd and 4th. Then James goes down, loses a few spots. That puts Malcolm into 3rd. A little bit further back, you have Kennard, who is now looking at 6-4 finishes on the day, which would be good enough for 3rd overall. Meanwhile, what can you say about Dungey? Bike changes he made throughout the day. That's the kind of progression we've seen of Dungey in the past. Gets better as the day goes on, and it's good enough to deliver his 2nd overall victory of the season, with Filippoto and Kennard joining him on the overall podium. On to the 250s. The bear is out of hibernation. That's just my little spoiler report. Just watch very closely. Let's go racing here in the first moto. The key is not who's up front off the start. It's actually who's behind. That is Eli Tomac, Zach Osborne, and Cooper Webb banging off each other 38th, 39th, and 40th in the first turn. Meanwhile, Will Hahn, welcome back, and Adam Cianciarulo, welcome to the pros, and Marvin Musquin, a rude welcome to both by taking the lead from them in the second turn, just like Ryan Villopoto did in the first 450 moto. Hahn settles into 2nd. Joey Savaggi gets around Cianciarulo to take over 3rd. Looks like Musquin is off to the races and looking for his 2nd straight moto win. Hahn, you got to give credit, riding very well considering that he has not raced the first 4 rounds of the series, coming back in the Geico Honda from broken hand. Savaggi going good. You also got the 21 of Jason Anderson in there. Now, who is this bear and what is this hibernation I'm talking about? You still don't see him. You still don't see him. Just keep waiting. Meanwhile, Musquin getting away. Here's his teammate Ken Roczen making moves. Justin Bogle was in a battle. He went down. And then Darren Durham goes down. Through all this carnage, you're eventually going to end up with both Red Bull KTM riders up front. Here is Webb. Remember, he was down in the first turn. He catches the downed Durham, and they work together to try to get to the back half of the top 10. They would just miss, just finish just outside of the top 10. There's the bear, out of hibernation. Blake Baggett was nowhere to be found early in this moto. He got up to 4th. Then he gets Anderson for 3rd. You have Musquin and Roczen battling for the lead, and suddenly, out of nowhere, here comes Baggett. And here's where I switch my analogies from bears to chupacabras, because he's about to challenge not just Roczen for 2nd, but take the lead from Musquin. Even Mike Genova, the Moto Concepts team, for some reason, is cheering on Baggett. Either he really likes Americans, or he's just a fan of that charge. As for Cianciarulo, had the good start. He crashed. He would finish up in 14th. Late in the race, you have Roczen and Musquin battling for 2nd. Musquin on the last lap would pull back away from his teammate to hold on for 2nd. Roczen said he was feeling under the weather for the last 2 weeks, was just happy to hold on for 3rd. As for the win, how about Blake Baggett? Forget the first 8 motos of the year. This is the Blake Baggett we expect to see. Your defending champ, bad wrist and all, has the moto win. Moto number 2, who's happy to be here? It's Eli Tomac. You know why? There's only 53 minutes of rest between these motos, and Tomac seems to be stronger than most, recovering. He gets a terrible start in this moto. He does not care about that. But it is another Geico Honda with a good start. It's 2 whole shots of the day for Will Hahn. MotorcycleSuperstore.com points coming his way. Right behind him, you got Cole Seeley, Darren Durham, and the first moto winner, Blake Baggett. Durham goes to the front, takes the lead from Hahn. But you got to figure with Baggett starting up front, he'll eventually get around Hahn and take over the number 2 position. Well, if he wins the first moto from way back, he'll easily win Moto 2 from 2nd, right? I'll tell you what, Durham was riding incredibly well, holding his teammate at bay. Baggett was not quite the same rider in this second moto. He showed the wheel to Durham several times, but each time Durham would have an answer. And then suddenly, who is in 3rd and closing the gap? Tomac? He was 13th at one point in this moto. It was ridiculous how quickly he made up ground. By the time he got to 3rd, he was 9 seconds behind the 2 Cowie riders, and he gets them both, Baggett and then Durham, and he's into the lead. And there's still significant time left in the moto. Enough time for Tomac to leave them in his wake. It was an unbelievable come-from-behind run. Durham was 2nd, and he said, you know what? I'm going to let Baggett go. He's my teammate. Maybe he can run after Tomac. He could not. Durham still 3rd in this one. Best finish for him ever, and he needed it because it's been a rough go of it for him last couple years. Meanwhile, you got Roczen and Musquin, the KTM teammates, battling it out in the top 5, trying to score points. Behind him is Osborne. Good salvage for him after a rough Moto 1. Meanwhile, Eli Tomac, let's say it again, from way back takes the win. Unfortunately, fourth in Moto 1. He's going to be denied the overall victory because of the 1-2 finishes of Blake Baggett. Your defending series champ has his first overall victory of the year. He and Tomac making up big points in the KTM riders on this day. Breakthrough ride today for Darren Durham. Let's catch up with him. All right, we'll wrap this up with Darren Durham, who led a bunch of laps second moto today. Rode pretty good both motos, really.
Yeah, it was a pretty good day. I was happy with it. I fell both motos, but I was able to lead some laps and get out in front and really just ride my own race for a while, and I haven't done that since High Point 2011. So it was pretty fun. It was really fun. I was pumped on it. I got to get in the flow and just have fun out there.
Second moto, there's this roller section that everyone struggled with all day, and you were killing it for a while, but then that actually bit you?
Yeah. Right after Tomac came out of nowhere and passed me. I didn't even know where he was, and then Blake got around me, and I decided to pick it back up to the rollers again and went for the sick line, and I took a little digger, but I had a big gap for fourth and got back up and held on to third.
Last thing, what does this mean to finally just have some good motos under your belt? It's been a long time.
Yeah, it's been a really long time, but I don't know, I'm happy. I'm just happy to be racing, and I think it's a step in the right direction. You know, I'm kind of building myself back up to, lead more races and be a podium guy. That's my goal.
All right. That's the Racetrack Motocross Show from Moats Creek. It's all presented by Motorsport, and we'll see you next week at Southwick. Thanks, Darren.
No problem.